So here Lord Kapila is further speaking to Mother Devahuti. This is in continuation with what he spoke in the previous verse. In the previous verse, Kapila Muni mentioned that one should increase the power of knowledge through his seeing power in terms of the knowledge and spirit, the knowledge of spirit and matter, and should not identify himself with the body. And after having the knowledge of matter and spirit, how one should act further is being further mentioned here by Lord Kapila. He is mentioning here Nivritta Buddhi Avasthano Duribhutanya Darshanaha Upalabhya Atmana Atmanam Chakshusha Iva Arkam Atmadrik. So he is Kapila Muni is asking here, mentioning here, to rise above the material consciousness, transcend the material consciousness. Nivritta. Nivritta means rise above or transcend. Rise above what? Buddhi avasthanaha. So he is asking to transcend the material consciousness. In the material world, predominantly, everyone here is situated in material consciousness. Under the material nature, one is influenced to act materially because the consciousness is materially polluted. And here, Kapila Muni is saying, Nivritta Buddhi Avasthanaha, transcend this material consciousness. And there are different states of material consciousness that we'll try to understand. And further he is saying, Dhuri Bhutani Darshanaha, Dhuri Bhuta. Give up, rise up again. All other consciousness, all different other conceptions of life. Upalabhya Atmana Atmanam. Further, realizing that, here Prabhupada translates Atmanaha. Atmana means, there are two Atmana mentioned here. The first Atmana, Prabhupada translates as by his purified intellect. One has to purify his intelligence, and having purifying intelligence means one is giving up his identification, giving up the false ego, and having realized this and realizing his own self, he has to further act on that platform. And he gives an example of the sun, Chakshusha Eva Arkam. Just like one can see the sun, similarly, one should be able to see one's own self. And this is called Atmadrik. This is a self-realized position. In the purport, Prabhupada gives a very nice explanation about this verse. Very interesting. As Kapila Muni is mentioning here, to transcend the different stages of material consciousness, Prabhupada in this purport he is elaborating what are the different states of material consciousness. There are three stages of material consciousness that everyone who is under this material world has to predominantly be in these three stages. The first stage is the stage of wakeful, which is known as Jagrata Avastha. And the second stage is the sleeping stage or the Swapna Avastha. And the third stage is the deep sleep stage, which is also known as Sushupti Avastha. And consciousness, when it is being situated in one of these different stages, it acts in a different particular way. When it is in wakeful state, the consciousness is active in one way. In dreamy stage, in Swapna Avastha stage, the consciousness is acting in one stage. And in a Sushupti stage, the consciousness is acting in another different way. In a wakeful state of consciousness, we know that we are able to see things, we are able to relate with the objects. We relate with the object based on the perception that we have developed about that particular object. Just like now, we are all awake. We are able to see, we are able to understand, comprehend, relate, identify. So that is the wakeful state of consciousness, which is easy to understand. And the next state of consciousness is the dreamy stage or the sleeping stage, Swapna Avastha. In the Swapna Avastha stage, apparently it may appear that consciousness is not active. It is an inactive state, in a dreaming stage. But in the material world, consciousness is always active, irrespective of whether it is in a wakeful state or in a dreamy state. When the living entity is in a wakeful stage of consciousness, its gross senses are very active. Just like we can see, when we are active, our senses are our mind, intelligence, our external senses, gross senses, and the subtle senses, both are active. We can make out of that. But in the dreamy stage, although gross senses may not be active, but the consciousness is still active in terms of its subtle senses are still quite active. Like mind is still active. Although we may be in the dreamy state, our mind is always active. Our subconscious mind is always still active. Just like, for example, when we are in a wakeful state, we are able to relate with an object. When the senses come in connect with a sense object, immediately there is a kind of sense of feeling, identification, and a kind of signal is sent to the mind, and we are able to perceive and we identify with that object and experience different kinds of pain and pleasure according to the way we conceive the object. Similarly, but in the dreaming stage, although the consciousness is looking inactive, the subconscious mind is very active. We are able to see and perceive the object even in the dreaming stage also. Like when we go to dreaming state, we all go through that dreaming stage when we go to bed. Or during the daytime also we dream sometimes. Our external senses are lost elsewhere. But subtly, our senses are active, we are dreaming, we are seeing an object, we are identifying with that object, and we are able to experience the pains and pleasure with respect to that identification. We have experienced that. Sometimes when we are in dreamy state, we experience different kind of situations. Prabhupada gives an example of tiger. When we are in the dream, sometimes we experience as if the tiger is chasing us. And The experience is as real as really if the tiger is chasing us when we are in a wakeful state, same experience is experienced in the dreaming state also. Although it is not real, but we are experiencing that. So most of the time, what we go through in the dream state is based on what we actually conduct during the wakeful state. Our activities, our function, our thinking, our feeling that we exercise when we are in a wakeful state, they have a larger impact on our dreamy state also. We would have experienced that. We might have ourselves experienced many such situations. What we experience during the daytime, during the wakeful state, somehow that reflects in our dreamy state also. In the school, in the college days, when we are very pressured of exam, so it happens sometimes in the dream. We are, that fear of exam is experienced in the dream, and sometimes we feel like, we are going to fail the exam. That kind of fear we experience in the dream. So much so that we feel that it is true, that is real. But as soon as we get up, we rise up, it takes some time to realize that it is actually false, it is a dream, it is not existing. But those experiences were real. So, point is that in the dream state also, the senses are active. But the gross senses may not be active, but the subtle senses are still very much active. But still, that is not in a purified state of consciousness. That is still the material polluted state of consciousness, whether it is wakeful stage or the dreamy stage. And the third stage is the sushupti avastha, or the deep sleep state of consciousness. So in the deep state of consciousness, the consciousness is, although active, it is fully covered. This is the state of consciousness of ignorance. This is called ignorance, andhakara, tamoguna. In the deep state of consciousness, or the susupti stage of material consciousness, the consciousness is covered. Prabhupada gives an example of a person who is under a medical care and he is given anesthesia. When a person has to be operated, doctor puts the patient under anesthetic condition. If that anesthetic condition is not used, the patient will experience the pain during the surgical operation. And sometimes pain are so unbearable for the patient. So for him, temporarily, so that his senses become numb, he doesn't experience any pain or pleasure. He is, of course, in operation there is no pleasure, there is always a pain. So that he doesn't experience a pain, he is put under anesthesia, anesthetic situation. But as soon as he comes out of the anesthetic condition, he immediately starts experiencing the pain. So that means temporarily the pain is covered. Temporarily the consciousness is covered so that he doesn't experience the pain. So sushupti avastha is also a state similar to that of our anesthetic condition. We are in deep sleep. Sometimes some person when he is in a deep sleep, nothing external will make him to wake up. No, there will be a pralaya in the world, but he will be in the deep sleep. We may have experienced that condition, at least during morning while waking up for Mangalarati. Alarm would be, we will keep multiple alarms. One alarm at 4 o'clock, another at 4:15, one at 3:45. So it will be keep buzzing, but we will not wake up. Even sometimes another external person may come to help to wake up. He will shake up, but still he will not wake up. So that is a deep sleep of stage of consciousness, and it is known as a state of ignorance actually. So that is the third stage in which the material consciousness prevails. And all these three stages of consciousness is not the original state of consciousness of the living being. It is a polluted state of consciousness. And Kapila Muni is asking us to rise above these three material stage of consciousness. And there is a fourth stage. Bhagavatam also explains about the fourth stage of consciousness, which is called as Turiya Avastha. Turiya Avastha means is that stage of consciousness which is beyond these three stage of consciousness, which is known as Krishna consciousness, which we are trying to practice actually. So the Krishna consciousness stage of consciousness, person is fully aware of Krishna. He is conscious of Krishna. That's what is the meaning of Krishna conscious. He is able to relate with the matter. He is able to relate with the world in terms of Krishna. He knows that the world is made of the matter and spirit, and Krishna has a larger hand behind maintaining this material universe. Although he may not be able to see Krishna personally, because Krishna is a spiritual personality, in the material state of existence, one may not be able to see Krishna, may not be visible to one's eyes, but still, because the person has developed, awakened his state of spiritual consciousness or the Krishna consciousness, he is still able to see the world through the energy of Krishna. Krishna says also in Bhagavad Gita, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtinaha. I am spread across this universe through my avyakta murtinaha, through my impersonal energy. Through my energy, he is present everywhere. And in this way, he is able to perceive Krishna everywhere. And apparently it may look like a Krishna conscious person also may be going through the other stage of consciousness, the stage of wakeful, the stage of dreamy stage. But he is not affected by the three stages, the wakeful stage or the dreamy stage and the Sushupti stage, because he is not affected by the matter. He doesn't identify himself with the matter. Although externally he may look that he is in a wakeful and dreamy state. Say for example, a person who is not in Krishna consciousness, who is in a material consciousness, when he is wakeful, he identifies with every object that he sees. Aham mameti, that was explained in the previous verse. He identifies with his body, he identifies with the matter, and whatever he sees, his vision, his perception is in terms of material enjoyment. A person in a Krishna consciousness, when he looks upon the matter, he looks upon that matter in relation with Krishna. His vision, his perception is totally different from a person who is materially situated. He sees everything in relation with Krishna. He sees spirit, another spirit, as a servant of Krishna. He sees that everything is for the pleasure of Krishna, and he sees that it is not meant for my enjoyment. In that way, he is able to relate everything in terms of Krishna consciousness. And that's how he is always aloof from the material influence. Bhagavatam explains that how gopis are the best example of person who is always absorbed in Krishna consciousness in all kinds of situations. The gopis, when they are situated, when they are in presence of Krishna, or when he is not present, in either situation, they are always absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami says that one should always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. That is the state of Krishna consciousness. That in either way, he is always absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna, just like the gopis. Gopis, when Krishna leaves to the forest for tending the cows, they are totally absorbed about Krishna, on the thoughts of Krishna. They are thinking that how Krishna, his lotus feet is so soft, so tender, as soft as a lotus petal. How will be able to bear the pain of the pebbles? How will be able to bear the thorns that is there in the forest, and the grass which may prick the soft lotus feet? Like that, the gopis are always absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna. And when Krishna comes back after tending the cows, so they are also absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna. They are meditating on him. They are seeing his beauty. When Krishna comes back after day long tending the cows, he is fully absorbed with dust, with sweat. His hair gets curly, and the dust which is there in the forest is settled on his face. So they are very much absorbed on thoughts of Krishna, seeing his form. And in this way, in any stage, whether in separation of Krishna or whether in presence of Krishna, they are always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. So this is the example which Bhagavatam gives, that how a Krishna conscious person, a person who has awakened his Krishna consciousness, is always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. He is nivritta, he is transcended all the material stages of consciousness. Prabhupada, in this purport, further he gives an example. He's quoting from Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says that how a Krishna conscious person, he is able to see Krishna everywhere, by referring a shloka from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada says, a perfect devotee may see many movable and immovable objects. In everything, he sees that Krishna's energy is acting. This is a very famous shloka from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which Lord Chaitanya himself speaks to Ramananda Raya in the conversation between Ramananda Raya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Sarvatra Sthavara Jangama Deke Na Deke Taramurti Sarvatra Hoye Nija Ishta Deva Spurti. The Mahabhagavata, the advanced devotee, certainly sees everything mobile and immobile, but he does not exactly see their forms. Rather, everywhere he immediately sees manifest the form of the Supreme Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this to Ramananda Raya. He says this to Ramananda Raya because Ramananda Raya asks a question. He, after sitting for many nights, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Raya has a detailed conversation between them on the subject matter of devotional service, on Krishna, on Radha. And every day they used to sit late night. And one day, Ramananda Raya questions Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He asks that, पहले देखे लो तुम्हारा सन्यासी स्वरूपा ए बेतोमा देखी मुनि श्याम गोप रूपा. He requests Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that please answer me without duplicity. What is the question that he is asking? He is saying that first I am able to see you in the form of a sannyasi, but now I am seeing you as a Shyama Sundara, as a cowherd boy. तोमारा सम्मुखे देखी कांचना पंचालिका तान है गौरा कांतिया तोमारा सर्व अंग धाका. I now see you appearing like a golden doll, and your entire body appears covered by a golden luster. ताहाते prakata dekon sa vamshi vadana nana bhave chanchalata hai kamala nayana. I see that you are holding a flute to your mouth and your lotus eyes are moving very restlessly due to various ecstasies. Further, he says, I actually see you in this way, and this is very wonderful. My Lord, please tell me without duplicity what is causing this. So, in reply to this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replies this. Although he is asking, he is able to recognize Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality himself, and he is asking to confirm this. That's why he is asking here, please tell me without duplicity. Lord, what duplicity he can be. But still, externally he doesn't reply, but he says in reply here that a Mahabhagavata who is advanced devotee, he is the topmost devotee of all the stages of all the types of devotees, and he sees everything, mobile and immobile. Just like we are also seeing many mobiles, Thavara, Jangama. There are many movable things, there are many immovable things. There are trees, there are plants, there are animals, there are living beings. There are objects that we see which are category of mobile and immobile. When we see that object in its gross form. But when a Mahabhagavata looks upon this object, how does he see? He does not exactly see like what we see, how we see. He does not see exactly their forms. Stavara Jangama deke, na deke tara murti. He doesn't see that form exactly. Then what does it he see? Rather, he sees Sarvatra Haya Nija Ishta Deva Spurti. Sarvatra. He sees whatever he sees within this creation, he sees them as a manifestation of form of the Lord. He sees them as an energy of the Lord, whether it is matter or whether it is spirit. Both matter and spirit are energy of the Lord. Krishna also confirms that in Bhagavad Gita, that everything that is there here, it is his energy. Bhumi Rapo Anado Vayu Binna Prakriti Me Ashtada. All these are my energy. And the spirit is also his energy. Yayedham dharate jagat. Apareyam itastu anya viddhi me prakritim para. Please know there is a superior energy that exists. Viddhi me prakritim para. Yayedham dharate jagat. So, in that conception, a Mahabhagavata is fully realized that whatever he sees in relation with Krishna. He sees even an enemy, even an atheist, even a non-devotee also is engaged in the service of Krishna. That is his vision. That is his highest vision. No, Bhaktivedanta Thakur also exhibits that in his prayer. He says that all the demons, all the atheists, they have attained the shelter of Krishna. He sees everyone is engaged in the service of Krishna except me. Even the demons and atheists are engaged, but I am left out. I am not engaged in this service of Krishna. Like this, a Mahabhagavata is always absorbed and sees that everything in relation with Krishna. And this he is able to do because Prabhupada says in this purport also that his eyes are ointed with love for Krishna. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. So in no situation he can be aloof from thoughts of Krishna. So just like Lord Krishna gives an example of how a person who has awakened his Krishna consciousness, if he drinks a water, he sings that the taste of the water is Krishna. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. Thus, when a devotee drinks water or any kind of other liquids, he immediately remembers Krishna. For a devotee, there is no difficulty in awakening Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day. So, 24 hours in a day, he is always connected to Krishna. So, that is the state of a Mahabhagavata who has raised up all the platform, and he is able to see Krishna everywhere. And this is because his vision is oriented with love for Krishna. And someone whose vision is oriented with love for Krishna, Prabhupada says in this purport, he is freed from the false egoistic identification, and he sees himself as a servitor of Krishna. And here a very important example is given. The example of the sun is being given here. Kapila Muni gives an example of the sun. We are able to see the sun, and there is a sunlight, right? We are able to see the objects here because of the presence of the sun, and there is a sunlight here. So sunlight is an energy of the sun. I can understand the sun is present because there is a sunlight here. Sitting here in the room, to know that sun is present outside in the sky, I need not go out and look upon the sky to see the sun. Just by the presence of the energy of the sun, I can understand the energetic which is the sun. Similarly, a person who is in the Krishna consciousness, he because he has developed his Krishna consciousness stage of consciousness, just by seeing the energy of the Lord, he is able to awaken, he is able to see Krishna everywhere. He is able to remember Krishna everywhere. And that's why the example of the sun is given. Chakshusha iva arkam. As we can see the sun without a doubt, one who is fully developed in Krishna consciousness sees Krishna and his energy. And by this vision, one becomes Atmadrik, or self-realized. So a person who is awakened his Krishna consciousness, awakened the vision of seeing Krishna and his energy, he is self-realized. And when he is self-realized, he is able to see himself separate from matter, separate from his body, disidentifying himself with his body, freed from false ego, and he is able to engage his senses in the service of Krishna, because his senses are purified. And one does not have to stop the activities of the senses, but the false ego of identifying the body has to be removed. So what is important is not stopping the activity altogether. In the Krishna conscious state of life, even though we may not be still fully Krishna consciousness, we are still engaging our senses in the service of Krishna, and activity per se is not stopped because we are still identified, we are still under the grip of false ego. That doesn't mean that we have to stop our activity. In fact, we engage our senses in the service of the Lord, purify, and continue to engage in the service, and gradually remove ourselves or disidentify ourselves from the state of false ego, and purify our senses and engage ourselves in the real state of purified service, engage in the purified state of service to Krishna. So that's what Kapila Muni is requesting us, that he is asking us to transcend from the state of the material consciousness, and for us to transcend from this material state of consciousness, we are recommended to, we are asked to engage in activities which are connected to Krishna consciousness, and not engage in those activities which are not connected to Krishna consciousness. We have 9 stages of devotional service. So we are supposed to engage in the 9 stages of devotional service, except especially the Shravanam and Kirtanam. By the regular process of chanting and hearing, one can gradually transcend from the state of material consciousness, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says, the Cheto Dharpana Marjanam, which clears our cloudy consciousness and rise up to the platform of Krishna consciousness. That's what here Kapila Muni is trying to mention here that one has to rise up to the spiritual consciousness and transcend the material consciousness, which are in different stages. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.